nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza. Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza. Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, my name is Dumisani Lindani, representing the people of Zomba Tondwe and a member of this ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Afternoon, Chair. My name is James Mpunga, representing the people of Zomba City South constituency, and I'm a vice chairperson of this committee.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. My name is Joseph Manzi. I am the Deputy Clerk of Parliament, responsible for procedural services, and I am leading the team of Secretariat supporting the ad hoc committee on this inquiry. Thank you so much.
My name is Walter Nyemelando Manda, the chairman of the ad hoc committee and a member of Parliament from Sanje Southwest. Dr. Mwayiwawo Polepole. Would like to inform you that our hearing this afternoon is being broadcasted live on Parliament TV, on YouTube, Facebook, and various media houses. So before we proceed any further, we wanted to inquire from you, which language are you comfortable to converse with?
Thank you, Chair, and your committee. Chichewa and the English would be fine for me. Thank you.
Suggesting that you're going to do both. You're going to interchange.
In some instances, as the situations may require, possibly I might go into Chichewa, and that's why I just mentioned Chichewa. Thank you.
All right, we will grant you that flexibility. Dr. Mwayiwawo Polepole, you served as Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs. At the time, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the core ministry for Protocol Department, which has institutional responsibility for the planning, management of senior official travel, including the coordination of departure formalities, passenger manifests, and liaison with the Air Force and airport authorities when VIP principals travel. Your relevance to the inquiry flows through the chain of institutional responsibility. Mr. Grips Chimzimu, the Assistant Protocol Officer who was present at Kia on the morning of 10th June 2024, operated under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and its protocol function. You are relevant to the question of whether the protocol function received advanced notification of the flight and whether standard protocol procedures for VIP military air travel were followed. You've therefore been summoned to respond so that we can establish how civilian authorities coordinated and authorized transportation arrangements for the case in question. In this regard, the committee will receive sworn testimonial evidence from yourselves regarding requests for transport support, coordination, administrative approvals, and government communication processes. So before we receive your testimony, we would like you to take an oath. May I request Secretariat to administer the oath?
I, Ambassador Mwayiwawo Polepole,
do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
By the Almighty God.
By the Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give.
That the evidence I shall give.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
But nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Just for the point of clarification, shall I call you Ambassador Dr. Mwayiwawo Polepole or Ambassador Mwayiwawo Polepole?
Thank you, Chair. considering the position which I think the country entrusted on me, Ambassador would be befitting. But I have no problem whichever. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With due respect, Ambassador Mwayiwawo Polepole, you are free and at liberty to respond to the summons that were served with you.
Thank you, Chair, and your committee. Maybe before I proceed, I wanted to find out if I might be able to use information that I brought for this function.
Thank you for that good question. You can read your presentation. I've seen copies that have secretary members. You can read line by line, and after your presentation, if there are follow-up questions, members will submit follow-up questions. We may require you at that stage maybe to have your notepad ready so that you can take the questions. If you don't have a notepad, I will request Secretary to provide you with a notepad. But you are free to present in the manner that you deem fit. We can give you a hard copy that you saved us if it's taking too long.
Thank you so much, Chair and your committee. Chairperson, I wish to acknowledge receipt of a summon on June 8th, of which I also signed in the registry, to acknowledge receipt of the summon to appear before your ad hoc committee of the Parliament of Malawi. Honorable Chair, the letter of summon was addressed to me in person under my name, and upon reviewing the summon, I noted that the official addressee was the Secretary for Foreign Affairs, who was supposed to give testimony comprised of aspects of planning of the late Vice President's program on 10th June 2024. I indicated verbally to Parliament that during the time in which I am required to respond to the matter at hand, I, Ambassador Mwayiwawo Polepole, PhD, was not the Secretary for Foreign Affairs. I was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as the Principal Secretary, Foreign Relations. At that time, there were two Principal Secretaries, viz. Principal Secretary Legal and Principal Secretary Foreign Relations, with the controlling officer who was the Secretary for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then I was advised verbally that since the Parliament, the ad hoc committee, your committee chair, has summoned me, I was mandated to still appear before your committee, our Honorable Chairperson. As such, from now on, your committee, Honorable Chairperson, should treat my information that I give to this committee as Principal Secretary of Foreign Relations and not Secretary for Foreign Affairs at the time of the incident. I implore that this should be very clear, absolutely, and with also moral honesty that I am here as Principal Secretary, Foreign Relations in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs during the month of June 2024. After this, what I have just mentioned, the Honorable Chair, I'm not sure if I can proceed, if you may wish me to do so. Honorable Chair, thank you.
You may proceed to respond as Principal Secretary of Foreign Relations at that material time.
Thank you. Of course, at some other time, I assumed the position of Secretary for Foreign Affairs. Honorable Chairperson, this report responds to where I can, the requirements by the ad hoc committee that it should be comprised of planning aspects of the late Vice President's program on 10th June 2024. It is required that it should indicate travel arrangements, passenger coordination, communications with government institutions and events immediately preceding the departure of the plane of the late Vice President from Kamuzu International Airport. As per guideline, my presentation or report will cover those aspects. I have taken the request into the following points. 1.1 will cover planning of the late Vice President's program on 10th June 2024. Chair, the committee may wish to be informed that there was no program for the late Vice President's program on 10th June 2024. You possibly would wish to be informed that the late Vice President was in South Korea for the Korea-Africa Summit. He and his team were arriving in the country on 9th June. In fact, the late Vice President was accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Secretary for Foreign Affairs to the summit. For the information of the committee, Chair, programs for the office of the Vice President are initiated by the controlling officer in that office, that's the office of the Vice President, who in this case is the Principal Secretary in the office of the Vice President. Honorable Chair, you may wish to recall that you had him appear before your committee, I think yesterday, and he candidly informed you and your committee on how the trip was planned. What he narrated here confirms the narrative that programs of this nature are responsibility of the office of the Vice President. Procedurally, the controlling officer of the office of the Vice President writes, or rather informs the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the trip by the Vice President if the trip hinges on issues on foreign relations. Such information contains the dates of travel, the list of officers to accompany the Vice President, and any other support that the Vice President may require. When such information reaches the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a coordinating ministry, and I think you should mark that, as a coordinating ministry, the other preparatory meetings commence with relevant government ministries and agencies that are relevant to the preparation for such functions, trip, or event. In this case, there was no such communication that reached my office on my desk as a Principal Secretary, Foreign Relations. In case Ministry of Foreign Affairs got the information, then the Office of the Vice President and the Secretary of Foreign Affairs are better placed to produce such document. Chair, you may also wish to be informed that on 10th June 2024, the 60th President of the Republic of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Makathe Chakwera, was departing for the African Bank Annual Conference, which was held in Bahamas. Please refer to the attached program of that event, which was held in Bahamas. The 60th President of the Republic of Malawi was expected to take leave of the late Vice President. By this date, I was already in Bahamas as I was leading the advance party. When all these events were happening, I was in Bahamas. The role of Foreign Affairs was to provide protocol services all through because the 60th President was present and that the deceased was also the Vice President of this country. 1.2, travel arrangements. As I indicated earlier on, the responsibility of travel arrangements is done by the responsible ministry or department. In this case, it was the office of the Vice President. This is so because the office of the late Vice President was responsible for any costs related to this trip. This may include and not limited to per diems for the officers, transport costs and accommodation, and any other related costs if that may arise. The Minister of Foreign Affairs has absolutely nothing to do with such arrangements. The only input from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the allocation of protocol officer, considering that this office requires such services. This is the reason why the Ministry of Foreign Affairs officer, in the name of late Kingston Abdullakim Lapkin, was involved in this plane crash. The late Lapkin was the Deputy Chief of Protocol in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at that time. He was allocated to provide protocol services for the late Vice President when the late Vice President was going to South Korea. The Secretary of Foreign Affairs might have information as to why he was on this trip that ended up in this plane crash. All I know is that Mr. Late Lapkin was assigned to accompany the late Vice President to South Korea. He indeed accompanied the late Vice President on this trip, of which they arrived in the country on the afternoon of June 9, 2024. My pure speculation, please note this is my speculation, is that it could have been the Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs who assigned the late Mr. Lapkin on this trip. Alternatively, it might have been the Principal Secretary in the office of the Vice President who issued instructions that Mr. Lapkin accompanies the late Vice President on this trip, considering that Mr. Lapkin was already with the late Vice President on June 9 and even prior to June 9 during the trip to South Korea. You may also wish that based on personal relations, the Principal Secretary in the office of the Vice President was also a former Secretary for Foreign Affairs. So it is possible that based on the relations, this might have been discussed, but formally, I do not have the information. Indeed, as a Principal Secretary for Foreign Relations, I was not privy to this information. That's why I said this is a speculation. 1.3, which is passenger coordination. As narrated earlier in the previous section, list of those accompanying the late Vice President were the responsibility of the office of the late Vice President and not Minister of Foreign Affairs. The principal, in this case, the late Vice President, was supposed to advise who will accompany him. I'm sure you were already aware that the late Vice President was the source of the passenger list, including its alteration where such was required. Let me reiterate here again, Honorable Chairperson and your committee, that Foreign Affairs does coordination primarily and clearing other issues related to foreign relations in case where this is required. 1.4, this is communication with the government institutions. Since there was absence of information on this trip from the office of the Vice President to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, preparations with other ministries, departments, and agencies were not done as the case. As I alluded to earlier, when the Minister of Foreign Affairs gets information, the Ministry invites relevant ministries, departments, and agencies to plan and coordinate the event. In the absence of that information, such meetings were not done, at least to my knowledge, as a Principal Secretary, Foreign Relations at that time. 1.5, events immediately preceding the departure of the plane of the late Vice President from Kamuzu International Airport. Honorable Chairperson and your committee, the Minister of Foreign Affairs handles departure and arrivals processes of the high-level dignitaries. In this case, it means the Minister of Foreign Affairs provided protocol services befitting the late Vice President on his departure. In such case, I think I already mentioned that our officer in the name of Mr. Lapkin was present. In this case, the Minister of Foreign Affairs provides access to VIP lounge, specifically the lounge assigned for the Vice President. He has a specific one, so definitely that happens. But sometimes things change depending on what happens, but for sure, that is a facility available. I added 1.6, which is a conclusion. Honorable Chairperson and your committee, this is my presentation regarding the assignment which contained in the summon addressed to me, of course with erroneous official salutation addressed to me as Secretary for Foreign Affairs at the time of the crash when I was the Principal Secretary Foreign Relations. I thank you, Chair, and your committee.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Mwayiwawo Polepole, for your self-explanatory presentation. It's very clear on your whereabouts on this particular day and the role of Foreign Affairs, but there may be clarifications from the members that they would like to get from you, so I'll open the floor to members for comments or questions. Zomba City South.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And I should also thank Ambassador Polepole for appearing before this committee. Chairperson, mine are few. I'll start with the program of the first citizen on that day, on the 10th of June. You might not have presented this, but we have got information that there was a shift in departure time for the ex-president to Bahamas from around, is it 1 o'clock to somewhere after 1 o'clock. What necessitated this change in program? You are saying you are Principal Secretary responsible for foreign relations. I'm sure you were in that post at that point, so it's a fair question to you. Secondly, Chairperson, I also want to hear, in case he has got information, during the submissions that we had with Dr. Lake Sikwese yesterday, the former Vice President, late SKC, was expected to meet the Right Honorable Andrew Mitchell that week, but the meeting was cancelled. You might also want to speak to that. We're just trying to understand what was happening around that time. Finally, Chairperson, he didn't also present this, but since we have interacted for almost a month now as a committee, were you aware of the seating arrangements in the plane that entered in Chikangawa? It was a VIP plane, and therefore, I'm sure you will develop some interest to understand the seating arrangements in that plane. You have presented on 1.5 of your presentation that, I'll read the sentence. It means the Minister of Foreign Affairs provided protocol services befitting the late Vice President on his departure. So I just want to hear from you if the seating arrangement was befitting the state Vice President. I submit, Chair.
Dr. Mwayiwawo, Ambassador Mwayiwawo, you can take the question.
Thank you so much, Chair, and the Zomba City South for the 3 questions. I think on question number 2, I think once I reach there, you might wish to provide me the name that the late Vice President was supposed to meet because I missed it. The first question, if I understand it correctly, Honorable, you mentioned that there was a change in the departure time of the 60th President, Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, and you would like to know why this happened. Honorable Chair and your committee, I may not be able to answer that question in specific terms because in most cases, a departure or arrival of airplanes depends on a lot of things which the Minister of Foreign Affairs has no control of. Once you arrive at the airport, you're just a messenger. Foreign Affairs does processes that require, as I mentioned, issues related to relations and also protocol services. In terms of whether the plane is delayed or not, Minister of Foreign Affairs does not control such a thing. I think there's a responsible ministry department which is responsible for that. So I may not be able to tell you that the plane was delayed because of the following reasons. I'll be able to not represent the ministry well on that point. Question number 2, you mentioned that you asked that the late Vice President was supposed to meet. This is where I asked for your support. The name that late Vice President was supposed to meet.
Chairperson, through you, the late VP was supposed to meet the Right Honorable Andrew Mitchell, Minister of the Conservative Government of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. The role of the Minister of Foreign Affairs in that context is that the interface in terms of planning for that meeting goes through the Minister of Foreign Affairs because the Minister of Foreign Affairs will receive that request, which is forwarded to the Minister, to the Office of the Vice President. But the details in terms of how this is going to be done, the intricacies is mostly between the responsible ministry and those that would like to visit the ministry. The Minister of Foreign Affairs just to provide sometimes secretarial services. I am not sure, and I don't want to speculate quite a lot on this because I think the Office of the Vice President would be in a better position to explain what actually transpired to have that change in terms of the meeting time. Thank you. The third one is, was I aware if the arrangements regarding to the sitting plan was done in this plan? Honorable Chair and your committee, Foreign Affairs does not do that. It is the responsibility of the service provider, in this context, those that were providing the flight services. I personally can share my experience as a humanitarian experiences. It happens that you go into the plane and then you have been given, you sit on seat number A, maybe 1B. But because of maybe weight or maybe the other side, there are more people and this side there are not more people, they are able to change, to say, please sit this side and sit that side. So as a Minister of Foreign Affairs, there is nothing to that context that they would be able to determine that when you go into the craft, a person X or official X should sit on this seat and sit on this seat. No, it is the manifest that is provided by the airline. In this context, those that were providing the flight vessel who were able to provide such information. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, I would like to follow up. Dr. Polepole, we are not referring to a trip outside the country. On that flight, you had an officer in the name of late Mr. Lapuken, and I thought he was there to provide the protocol services. And in my thinking, as you have written under paragraph 1.5, he was there, or the minister was there, through Mr. Lapuken, the late, to ensure that the protocol services that are provided to the late VP are befitting the late Vice President. And therefore, the sitting arrangement, the chairs that the big boss is supposed to sit on, I thought it was also a protocol matter. So I don't know if that is beyond the protocol, where the big boss sits. I'm saying this, Chairperson, because I'm aware that plane had two sections, the VIP side and the normal side. And we thought the late Vice President would sit in the VIP section. So that's where I'm coming from. Did you ensure that indeed what you wanted to provide for the late Vice President, protocol services befitting his office, was indeed provided? I submit, Chair.
You can take that question.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Zomba, City South, my answer won't change. Protocol services, my understanding might be different with the way you understand it. Ministry of Foreign Affairs has no control over the seating arrangement in the plane. It is the technical advice in the plane that defines who should sit where. I am happy that you know that there are two sections. There is the VIP section, and then, so I'm not sure because I was not there, as I already indicated. Maybe you have more information where the late Vice President was sitting. But as far as I'm concerned, the Minister of Foreign Affairs does not extend its mandate in terms of control. As I indicated, there are some technical issues that happen when you are in the plane. And I think I gave an example when I was doing work in the humanitarian industry. Even if you are already there, you are able to be moved depending on different, technical advice that the crew may provide. Thank you, Chair.
As soon as I finalize interacting with the witness, my three questions, I would probably say the witness has no information on all the three questions. I just wanted to put that on record. It was about the shift in the departure time of the 60th president. He has no information. The cancellation of the meeting with Right Honorable Andrew Mitchell, he has no information. And also the seating arrangement, which I thought was also a protocol matter. He has no information. I submit.
The witness has clearly stated that he was not in the country from the outset. And he's also requested to be recognized as Principal Secretary of Foreign Relations. Okay? So I'm not too sure if you are responding from a point of knowledge or ignorance. Can you confirm?
Thank you, Chair. I am responding on the point of knowledge. That this is what happens. But in this specific context, I want to thank you, Chair, that you well elaborated that I was not the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, because all the information goes to the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, who is the controlling officer. I was the Principal Secretary, Foreign Relations. And that's why I mentioned, and I stopped the Chair to say, should I proceed? And you allowed me to proceed. So, and I even asked to say, starting from now, address me as Principal Secretary of Foreign Relations at that time. If it was later on, when I was the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, I would be gladly to take that. So I would also ask you, Chair, that I plea with the members that they should not put words in my mouth. I am here to report what I know and not what other people know. Thank you, Chair.
So can you confirm that you are responding from a point of knowledge, but you have no knowledge of what happened?
You may wish to explain that, Chair.
I've asked you whether you are responding from a point of knowledge or ignorance. You said,
I mentioned that I am responding on the point of what I know.
It's the same thing. So I'm not trying to challenge you, but I just want to clarify facts. Okay. You said that you're responding from a point of knowledge, though you were not in the office, okay? But you didn't have knowledge of what was happening. Maybe you're responding from what historically happens, not knowledge of the circumstances that were prevailing at the time.
You are correct, Chair. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify matters so that there's no any misunderstandings. Thank you. Zomba Tonde?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, Ambassador. I think your explanation was quite clear, but maybe just to be double sure, you mentioned that you were not in that office then, but later on you were assigned that office. I wanted to know how long did it take you to be moved to this office after the tragic accident? And number two, despite the fact that you didn't respond on the details of the foreign dignitary who was coming from the UK, I just wanted you to confirm if you know anything about the change of program, just knowing about the change that the former president was supposed to leave at this time, and then there was a change. Just confirmation of the change, if at all you know. And then, Chair, I wanted, after the first question, I wanted him to give this committee a picture if there was any analysis that was done in your new office, and then do you have any documentation or reports after the assessment of the happenings of the 10th? I'm assuming there was an analysis when he got into the office. Are we privy to that kind of information? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for your question, Zomba Tondwe. The first question is, how long did it take? I think it took some time because the incumbent then was still doing the services of Secretary for Foreign Affairs. And I came, I think, around October in the same year, 2024. The second question is the change of the program. As I indicated, I didn't know. I was not the Secretary for Foreign Affairs because information, when it arrives in the ministry, it goes to the office of the Secretary for Foreign Affairs. And I also mentioned that during this time, I was not in the country. I was leading the advance party for the 60th president arriving in Bahamas. The third question is assessment of the 10th, of what happened on 10th. This is the first time, Chair, that I am hearing that there was an assessment, but not to my knowledge. Thank you, Chair.
Zagasena?
Thank you so much, Chair. I will not permission to engage the witness, Chair. Can I engage him to a few questions?
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Ambassador. Good afternoon once again and welcome. I was listening attentively to your presentation, and much as you said you were outside the country, but then you were already in Bahamas. But if I get you correct in your presentation on page 2, you are saying programs of a VP so to procedurally issues to do with manifest is done by the office of a vice president. But then we had a PS yesterday for vice president. Chair, the presentation which Dr. Squest made yesterday on page 4, the last sentence, I'll read it for you. So I want you to comment on it if it's true or not, or what you know. I called the Deputy Chief of Protocol that the late Vice President would travel to Zuzu on military aircraft. I did this, I want you to take note on that one. I did this because it is practice that when a Vice President is traveling by air, the Directorate of Protocol in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs works on the manifest of those boarding the craft with the Vice President. I will stop there. Now you in your presentation you're saying the manifest is handled at a Vice President's level. At what level is it? So who is saying the truth between the Dr. Squese, or what do you say about the Dr. Squese's submission?
You may proceed to answer.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe if you can just remind me your constituents so that I can address you properly. Thank you.
I present everything found in the Zagasina Goswes.
as good or bad.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dedza Kasina constituency. I think I will not be able to answer who is saying the truth or not, but if I understand correctly, if I was hearing the presentation of my brother yesterday, I think he also mentioned that at another time, he was the late vice president gave him the names, and that's the manifest, that I'm going to travel with the following people. But after being advised that I think some of the seats were taken out of the plane to accommodate the casket, then the same late vice president changed the names. So I don't know who is supposed to answer that question, because my understanding, manifest actually means the names of the passengers that are traveling.
Thank you so much.
Chair.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Ambassador. We don't have to take much time on that one. What I meant is, these names, once they have developed, they have been developed at the office of a vice president, I think at a certain time, they have to get to your director of protocol in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a manifest. Did you have it? Do you have it in your office?
Thank you, Chair. The answer is still also difficult, because in your statement that you read, it is indicating that the secretary, the principal secretary of the office of the vice president, talked to the deputy chief of protocol. There is no indication there, if I didn't understand it well, that they sent it to the secretary of foreign affairs. So what it means is, my speculation that I made in my report, that it is possible that there were some discussions. So they discussed it, I don't know at what level, because officially that is supposed to be submitted in a formal a submission through either a letter or a memo from the office of the vice president to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then Foreign Affairs would revert formally. But if I understand correctly what you have read, it is indicating and confirming that the principal officer, principal secretary of the office of the vice president talked directly to the deputy chief of protocol.
Help me, Ambassador. Protocol-wise, let's forgo the 10 June event. But protocol-wise, as now, let's take from October 2024, when you assumed the full control as controlling for the ministry. What's the standard practice when a VIP, on a military VIP flight, or a VIP is traveling out, the vice president or the president, the manifest has been produced by those offices? What is supposed to happen so that you provide the protocol services from the airport? What is supposed to happen?
Thank you very much, Chair, and your committee, and thanks, Dedza Kasina. Normally what happens is what I just explained in the report. Those who are going to initiate the event, whether it is traveling in this context, that department, even including State House, will develop the list and then share it with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Assuming that the trip is planned well in advance, all the necessary ministry departments and agencies come, and they also submit their names to Ministry of Foreign Affairs to say maybe Ministry of Defense will have 2 people, Ministry of Agriculture will have this. So we compile all that. After we compile everything, we send the list to the office of the President and Cabinet, OPC, to say the Vice President, or indeed the President, is going to travel on this date, going to this to do these activities. This is we call it a proposed list that we have so far, compiled. And then the office of the President and Cabinet review it, and if there are any questions, sometimes those questions are directed back to the ministries and even to us. Once that has been confirmed, that's when everything is taken over by those responsible. In this case, if it was a chartered plane, or in this case, if it was a military plane, then it means the information is taken to the service provider. I'm using the word service provider in this context because Ministry of Defense provided the services to carry the late Vice President. So that's what happens in normal cases. But you can see that in this context, there was no such information. And mind you, let me repeat this, at that time I was the Principal Secretary of Foreign Relations, so I'm not sure whether the Office of the Secretary for Foreign Affairs got that information, but I would have known, possibly. Thank you.
Thank you. Why I was asking that is because I want to understand. You had your protocol officer at the airport. How did they know that they are expecting to receive the VIP, the then late Vice President, to flew off to Zuzu? How did they get the receipt? Or they didn't prepare anything?
In this context, Chair, and your committee, I wouldn't explain because maybe the Secretary of Foreign Affairs had that information, of which I was not having privy to that information.
All right. In your presentation, Chair, on page 3, you have said the deceased, the late Deputy Chief of Protocol, late Kingston Abdul Hakim Lapken, you had assigned him to go to South Korea with the Vice President, correct?
That is correct, Chair.
But your presentation, you are saying you supplies that he also go to Zuzu, but you made assumptions that maybe because he already assigned to go to South Korea, because he was already with the Vice President, that's why he proceeded to Zuzu under the election of Vice Secretary to the Office of Vice President, but your office was not aware, was not assigned to go to Zuzu.
Thank you, Chair. As I indicated, there was no communication, and that's why even there I mentioned that I speculate. Thank you.
Okay, last Chair, the issues of change of flights. There was a communication which came out that yes, the president is not leaving. I think around 1 change of flight to 4 or thereabouts. I'm asking you because you're already in Bahamas, as you've said. This change of flight which was made here in Malawi was not reflecting in Bahamas. There was no any change of time of expected arrival of the president in Bahamas.
Thank you, Chair. There was no such a thing. You may wish to know, Chair, that sometimes maybe the connection time would be reduced or the connection time would be elongated. But as far as I'm concerned, when I was in Bahamas leading the team, there was no information that the president then is going to delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Ambassador, I think you've attempted to answer questions even though you were not in office. So we highly appreciate that. You also attempted to answer questions based on what you know on how operations run at the Foreign Affairs. Just one question. Was the ADC, the protocol officer, Kingston Lapken, a full-time employee at the VP's office, or he was full-time with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Just that clarification. Was he full-time with the VP, or he was being requested as and when there were trips or events?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Lapken was a full employee of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and his designation was the Deputy Chief of Protocol. In this context, normally what happens is that, as I was answering the question in terms of preparation of trips, there are other factors that are considered, maybe the duties that have been assigned to the other office and so forth. But in this context, at this time, when they were traveling to South Korea, Mr. Lapken, late Lapken, was assigned to accompany the late Vice President. Thank you.
No, thank you for that clarification. As I said, we appreciate your time just to come here and volunteer information. What we have noted was there was a communication breakdown on how the flight was ordered and your ministry. We had officials coming from Korea. We had you going to Bahamas. So I don't know who was available at that time to handle the VP's office, but I'm seeing a gap in between, and we'll still try and maybe get more information from the protocol officer at Kia. What's his name again? Is it Chimzimo? there's a person, I think he's probably scheduled to have a discussion with us, but I can see a communication breakdown and a gap. But we appreciate your time. I'm not sure it wasn't in vain at all. And we wish you all the best. Thank you. You may take leave if you don't have any further comments to make.
Thank you, Chair. Just to appreciate the guidance that I got from the Parliament, because as I indicated that I'm not going to come. I had a lot of things going around, considering that at that time there were 3 principal secretaries, and I was the only one picked. And the one who has been picked has been fired by this government because they said they don't need my services. And then I was asked to come here. So you can see why I think I was concerned to say what is it that is happening. But with this clarification, I am happy that I think it has ended in this way. But still, I am concerned that I was nominated or identified to come and to present this. We will see how this ends. But as a Malawian, I am worried. Thank you, Chair.
You shouldn't be worried. There is no hidden agenda. All we want is to establish nothing but the truth. And we will try as much as possible to call witnesses that we think have knowledge of what transpired or were involved somehow. So your selection to come before the Commission of Inquiry was not by mistake. There was definitely a reason, maybe a misunderstanding on your position at that particular time. I want to guarantee you that there's no hidden agenda whatsoever. It wasn't. Yeah. So you feel free, be at peace. We will do the right thing. We are not here to witch hunt. No, we are independent. We are MPs. We don't know who is in office, who is not in office, who has been fired. All we're trying to do is do justice to this inquiry. So, but we wish you all the best.
I thank you, Chair, and your
Thank you.
committee. Thank you.